The original Galaxy Note completely changed what a smartphone should be, and the Galaxy Note 9 doesn't do that. But what it does do is take the best of what made the Galaxy Note line great and make it bigger and better than ever. Actually, I just wanted to take a second and give a big shout out to Moment for sponsoring this video. Moment makes really cool smartphone cases and lenses that can really take your smartphone photography game to the next level. You can check them out on shopmoment.com and tell them we sent you. All right, now back to the video. Body of the Galaxy Note 9 is really similar to the Galaxy Note 8. But they've added a few refinements that just make it a little better. You've got flatter sides so it's easier to grip in your hand. They've added some chamfered edges where the glass meets the metal. And they've actually repositioned the fingerprint reader, which I really personally like because it's right below the camera lens now, which makes it a lot easier to press without accidentally putting your finger directly on top of that lens. The screen on the Galaxy Note 9 is big, bright, and beautiful, just like we're used to seeing on Samsung phones. But it's 0.1 inches bigger than the Galaxy Note 8, which is nice because it just kind of adds to that whole refinement thing. It's really saturated and punchy, and honestly, this is one of the best displays that I've seen on a smartphone. And if you've used a Samsung phone before, you won't be disappointed. And of course, like on any Galaxy Note device, you're gonna find all the essentials like the speaker grill, the USB Type-C port, the S Pen, and yes, the headphone jack is still here. And I just want to iterate this to other manufacturers. If Samsung can fit an S Pen in this phone, which is like 3/4 of the length of the entire phone, then you other guys can fit a headphone jack in your phone. Do better. On the inside, you've got pretty much everything that you've come to expect from an Android flagship. You've got Qualcomm's latest Snapdragon 845, a ton of RAM, but honestly, there's not a lot to say about performance on this phone. You can run pretty much any game on it, you can multitask like crazy, and I didn't really notice any stuttering between apps or anything else. The biggest things we really need to talk about here are the storage and battery capacity. So the baseline model of this phone comes with 128 gigabytes of storage, but you can actually get another model with 512 gigabytes of storage. And that's a ton of storage. Don't get me wrong, but we are using our phones as more of our daily pocket computers. And I do like to put a lot of Netflix shows and music on my phone to use at places like the gym and when I don't have service. And I really appreciate the fact that Samsung is giving people this option. I mean, it is a Note device after all. You shouldn't have to make compromises. There's a new battery in the Galaxy Note 9, and it's actually way better than it was last year. It's 4,000 milliamp hours this time, which is a lot more than the Note 8, and I got about 7 hours of screen on time out of this phone on any given day. Now, that is really good because not a lot of other Android phones can really hit that mark on a daily basis. Now, those are some insane specs, but if you want it all, you're gonna have to pay for it. The Note 9 starts at $1,000, and that is a lot of money. But you have to consider that your phone is the computer that you use multiple times a day. Now, when I'm not reviewing a phone, I use the OnePlus 6, and I love that phone. It's nice, it's fast, it's clean, but it does skimp on some things that make the Note 9 great, like the fast wireless charging, IP68 water resistance, expandable storage, and of course, the S Pen. Now the S Pen is definitely the most defining feature of the Galaxy Note line. And I've got to admit, I've never actually owned a Galaxy Note phone before, but using it after the last week or so, I've really come to enjoy using the Smart Select and Screen Write features. This year, Samsung's added low-power Bluetooth functionality to the S Pen, and it allows you to do things like using it as a remote shutter for the camera, changing songs on apps like Spotify, or even switching slides in a PowerPoint presentation. And it's fine, it's not a make or break feature for me, but I am really glad to see that Samsung is iterating on the most defining feature of the Note series. Also, the Ocean Blue model comes with this really bright highlighter color S Pen, and it doesn't really do anything but dictate the color of the ink on your display. If you want to get a different color ink, you can always just buy a different color S Pen. Whenever anyone asks me for a smartphone recommendation, I always start with asking them what's important to them in their phone, and overwhelmingly, they always tell me it's the camera. I usually use my phone's camera just for basic information transfer, but a lot of people use their smartphone camera as their primary camera every single day. And Samsung's not skimping on any of the features here. They've got the optical image stabilization and the dual aperture lens system from the Galaxy S9, but they've actually added a couple extra features that should theoretically make this phone's camera just a little bit better. It's got a new scene recognition mode, kind of similar to what you'd see in like a Huawei phone. And in theory, it's supposed to be able to take like a landscape or plants or food and just make the image look a little bit better. But in my testing, it just kind of saturated the colors and didn't necessarily make them look that good. I took a picture of food here and it just made the image look a little oversaturated, which might be good enough for Instagram, but personally, I'm not really digging it. The other new feature here is called flaw detection. Essentially what this is supposed to do is recognize when someone in your image is blinking or if the picture is slightly out of focus. Now, this is great when it works, but I found that it was pretty inconsistent. This is machine learning based, so we can hope that it would get better over time, but for now it's not all that great. Overall, the quality of this camera is really good. It's pretty natural unless you turn on that AI scene recognition mode, though it is a little bit warm, but I think most people will really enjoy this camera. The selfie camera is a little bit soft, but it actually does really good in low light circumstances, which I think a lot of people are gonna appreciate. So we have to talk about software. The Galaxy Note 9 is running Android 8.1 Oreo, which is not the latest Android Pie update from Google. But Samsung isn't really good at updating their devices, so I wouldn't necessarily expect Android Pie to come to the Note 9 anytime soon. Probably the biggest software update here is the addition of Bixby 2.0. And what this update is supposed to do is allow the virtual assistant to understand contextual conversation, but it really doesn't work that well. Let me show you what I mean. Who was the 15th president of the United States?
James Buchanan was the 15th president of the United States.
When did he die?
Okay, here's what I found online. Let's take a look.
What are some good Chinese restaurants around here?
Here are some Chinese restaurants in 10 miles of 1,830 Walnut, Kansas.
What about Mexican?
Here are some Mexican recipes.
So that was close, but I wanted Mexican restaurants, not recipes. If you've used a Samsung phone in the last couple of years, you'll be used to this UI. It's pretty clean and it's not really that different from stock Android besides the obvious Samsung-y type vibe that it's got going on. But the one thing that really did annoy me was the fact that it had Facebook pre-installed, and you can't actually uninstall this, just hide it. Now, if you're paying $1,000 for a smartphone, you shouldn't have to deal with bloatware like this, and I would like to see Samsung remove that next year. So you're probably wondering if I would actually recommend this phone, and I really like it. It's probably in my top 5 Android phones of 2018 list so far. But look, I get it. $1,000 is a lot of money for a smartphone. And if you don't need those Note 9 specific features, you probably get 90% of the power of this phone in something like the OnePlus 6 or Galaxy S9 for about 50% of the cost. But the Note 9 was defined by refinement. And with the Note 9, you're going back to the power user phone that the Note series was always meant to be.